I am officially the most socially anxious person on the planet, and I've actually done the math to prove it. Now, a lot of people think I'm just shy or introverted, but in reality, my social anxiety has reached such extreme levels that I've started tracking it with spreadsheets, graphs, and full-blown statistical analysis. Apparently, when my brain gets anxious, it copes by turning everything into quantifiable data. It's not just regular nervousness, it's a measurable phenomenon. I can calculate the exact probability of me embarrassing myself in any given scenario, predict my heart rate increase based on the number of people in a room, and generate mathematical models showing the correlation between how long a social interaction lasts and my likelihood of saying something mortifyingly awkward. You know when people say anxiety is just in your head and you should just relax? Well, I've created comprehensive documentation proving that my social anxiety follows consistent mathematical patterns. It can be graphed, quantified, and predicted with alarming accuracy. So no, it's not just in my head, it's in my data. Every time I have a social interaction that triggers anxiety, I document it in a detailed spreadsheet. I track variables like the number of people present, my familiarity with them, the duration of the interaction, conversation topics, and any embarrassment incidents. After collecting data for 6 months, I now have enough information to create predictive models of my social dysfunction that would make statisticians weep. Look at this, people. I have actual graphs showing my anxiety levels plotted against social situations. Charts demonstrating the exponential increase in my awkwardness as group size grows. I have mathematical formulas that can predict with 87% accuracy whether I will say something weird within the first 10 minutes of any social gathering. I've turned my crippling social anxiety into a research project. Because hey, if I'm going to suffer through social situations, I might as well collect data about my suffering and turn it into colorful charts that quantify exactly how uncomfortable I am at all times. My therapist suggested I journal my anxious thoughts. Instead, I created a relational database with multiple tables tracking social anxiety metrics across different contexts. I'm pretty sure that's not what she meant, but it's too late now. I'm committed to this scientifically rigorous approach to my mental health struggles. My first major discovery, I calculated that my base anxiety level in social situations follows a logarithmic growth curve based on the number of people present. Specifically, my heart rate increases by about 15 beats per minute for every additional person, up to 5 people. After that, the rate of increase accelerates exponentially. This means small gatherings of 2 to 4 people cause moderate, manageable anxiety. But once you hit 6 or more people, my anxiety skyrockets into territory where I start seriously considering faking a medical emergency just to escape. I created a graph plotting the number of attendees on the x-axis against my measured heart rate on the y-axis. The curve is so perfectly logarithmic, it's actually beautiful in a deeply sad way. It's like my social anxiety follows mathematical principles so precisely that it could be used to teach statistics students about exponential growth. I've tested this formula at multiple social events, and it holds true every single time. At my friend's birthday party with 8 people, my heart rate hit 132 beats per minute, which was exactly 3 beats per minute away from my predicted value. Honestly, I was more excited about the accuracy of my model than I was about celebrating my friend S's birthday, which probably says something concerning about my priorities. Second catastrophe, I discovered a direct correlation between the perceived social status of people I am talking to and the likelihood of me saying something embarrassing. I created a ranking system where I rate each person on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how intimidated I am by them. Then I track how many awkward comments I make per minute of conversation. The resulting scatter plot shows a clear positive correlation with an R-squared value of 0.8. That means 87% of the variation in my awkwardness can be explained by how intimidated I am. When I'm talking to someone I rate as a 3 or below, like my close friends, I average about 0.5 awkward comments per 5-minute conversation. That's just my baseline awkwardness, part of my personality. But when I'm talking to someone I rate as an 8 or above, like attractive people or authority figures, my awkward comment rate skyrockets to 3.0 per 5 minutes. That's a 540% increase, and it explains why I've never successfully flirted with anyone in my entire life. I presented this data to my best friend, thinking she would be impressed by my scientific approach. Instead, She just looked at me with deep concern and asked if I was okay. I thought that was rude. I was clearly demonstrating advanced data analysis skills. Third fiasco. I calculated the exact amount of preparation time I need before social events. Ivy created a formula. Preparation time in minutes equals the square root of the number of expected attendees, multiplied by my unfamiliarity coefficient on a scale of 1 to 5, plus a constant of 30 minutes for baseline anxiety management. So, for a casual dinner with 3 close friends where my familiarity coefficient is 1, I need about 1 hour and 4 minutes of mental preparation. This includes running through potential conversation topics, planning my outfit, and doing breathing exercises. But for something like a work networking event with 20 people where my familiarity coefficient is for, I need almost 4 hours of preparation. And I'll still show up anxious and probably say something about the weather within the first 30 seconds, because that's my panic default. I've verified this formula across multiple events, and it's accurate enough that I now schedule my entire life around these preparation times. Fourth tragedy. I discovered that my ability to make small talk follows a decay function. My conversational competence decreases exponentially with interaction duration. I can maintain relatively normal small talk for about 8 to 12 minutes. After that, my brain runs out of appropriate things to say, and I start either going silent or saying increasingly bizarre things to fill the awkward pauses. I graphed this phenomenon, and the decay curve is remarkably consistent. It starts at my maximum small talk capacity, which is still below average, and then declines steadily until I hit what I've termed the awkward singularity. That's the point where I should absolutely stop talking, but usually don't, because I panic about silence and end up saying something like, "Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts?" Completely out of context. I can predict with unsettling accuracy at what point in any conversation I will start talking about random animal facts. It's usually around the 14-minute mark. Fifth calamity. I created a risk assessment matrix for different types of social situations. I rate them on 2 axes, one measuring the probability of embarrassment and another measuring the severity of that potential embarrassment. Coffee with one friend falls into the low-risk-low severity quadrant. That's my safe zone. Weddings where I don't know anyone land firmly in the high-risk, high-severity danger zone. This means I either need extensive preparation or a valid excuse to decline. I've color-coded my matrix. Green for situations I can handle, yellow for ones requiring significant mental prep, and red for situations I should probably fake being sick to avoid. I legitimately consult this matrix when deciding whether to accept social invitations. Sixth disaster. I calculated my optimal arrival time for social events. I use a complex formula that factors in my desire to not be the first person there, but also not be too late. This results in a narrow 10 to 15-minute window that Ivy determined through extensive field research is the mathematical sweet spot for minimizing arrival anxiety. I even have a spreadsheet to calculate the expected arrival time of other guests. And somehow, I still always get it wrong. I either arrive first and have to help set up, or I arrive late and have to do the terrible walk of shame into a room where everyone stops talking to look at me. Seventh fiasco. I discovered that there is a mathematical relationship between the number of times I rehearse what I am going to say before a phone call and the likelihood that I will still completely fumble it. My optimal performance occurs with exactly 2.5 rehearsals. Obviously, that's impossible, so I round to either 2 or 3. And even with this scientifically determined prep, I still frequently end phone calls by saying, "You too," when the pizza delivery guy says, "Enjoy your meal." No amount of math can overcome my fundamental social Eighth tragedy. I created a probability model predicting the likelihood that I will think about an embarrassing social interaction from years ago. I found that the probability follows a power law distribution. The most embarrassing incidents have a much higher chance of random recall. The number 1 incident, which happened 7 years ago when I accidentally called my teacher mom, still triggers anxiety responses multiple times a week. And the worst part, all this mathematical analysis and data collection hasn't actually helped reduce my social anxiety at all. If anything, it's made it worse. Now I'm anxious about social situations, and I'm anxious about whether I'm collecting accurate data about my anxiety. It's a recursive loop of anxiety about anxiety. My therapist suggested that maybe I'm using data collection as an avoidance mechanism.